if you've been in a very bruising, kind of damaging relationship, which we've all had if you've been alive for enough years, right? It is absolutely essential that you step back and analyze it, because kind of negative relationships and traumas like that will reveal a lot of truths about yourself. You will tend to blame the other person for everything, but you need to look at yourself and see the patterns that are making you fall for people like that, right?
You getting into those relationships over and over again.
Yeah.
So what would it look like when you start the healing process or the awareness process of, okay, I'm the one who's responsible for this pattern. I'm the common denominator of all these relationships. So there's, partially me to be responsible for. What would it feel like to start the healing process? And what would that next relationship look like when you make a commitment? Would it just feel different? Would it feel like, oh, this is very healthy? How would that look, do you think?
Well, there's a lot of problems. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And the main problem, Louis, is, believe it or not, some of those early dysfunctional relationships with your parents are charged with this kind of sexual energy.
Really?
Yeah. And so you'll find yourself attracted to the very man or woman who's going to hurt you. Whereas the man or woman who is good for you, there's no kind of sexual charge. Because, and this isn't everybody, this is maybe a third, I don't know what the percentage is, don't quote me on it.
Sure.
But you are actually more attracted to the person that has these damaged qualities.
Why is that?
Because you get to relive some of those early traumas, right? And so the problem that will happen, and I can see this in my own life as well, that the person who is good for you, that's actually caring, that will mesh with you, that physical charge maybe isn't as strong, right? And that's a problem, right? Because you want to have that element. But you need to be aware of this. You need to be aware of the fact that some of the people that you're most attracted to, you're not attracted to just because of their sexy body or whatever it is. There's also some kind of issues you haven't worked out from your early childhood that are at play in that relationship and that are going to cause you a lot of pain.
Why does that turn us on sexually, do you think? Why is the human brain turned on by drama and, unhealthy relationships? Like, why does that?
Well, I would be a multi-billionaire by now if I could answer those questions.
Yes.
I'd be the ultimate doctor of love. But I can say this, that when you're a child, you're 2 or 3 years old, we're talking about entering the spirit. Try and enter the spirit of the 3-year-old Lewis Howes. You're very vulnerable. You're very weak, right? You're at the mercy of this person who's very powerful. Your mother and also your father, it depends on what, You're at their mercy, right? And you're open to them. You depend on them for so much. So the emotional energy that you are putting onto them is extremely powerful.
Wow.
More powerful than any other relationship you'll have in your life, and you're not aware of it. And so it meshes with all these other kind of physical impulses and desires that you have. Because a child who's 2 or 3 years old is actually still having like sexual impulses very early on. It's kind of creating a pattern of attraction that you are very rarely aware of. It's not to say everybody is like that, but it's a pretty common denominator that, if you have, for instance, a very narcissistic mother, right, who was more interested in herself than in you, you're going to be attracted to narcissistic women.
If you're a man. Yeah, gotcha. Wow.
Yeah. And you're not aware of it. And, it creates a lot of pain for you, right? So you've got to go through a process. It's kind of like there's the ancient Greek play of Oedipus, right? I don't know if you were. He killed his father, and then he ended up marrying his mother.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we get the Oedipus complex from, right? And he never realizes it until he's like in his late 30s and he's gone through his whole career as a king of Thebes. And then suddenly he's made aware of it through various things that happen, right? And it's like, oh my God, really? I've done all that? This is what my life is? And he's so overwhelmed that he cuts his eyes out and he blinds himself as proof of, how blind he was in life.
Wow.
And so the Greeks are saying in that play that we're all kind of blind. Fate kind of pushes us around and we're not even aware of it. And the moment of feeling enlightened about becoming aware of some of these patterns in your childhood is actually a great moment. It's very painful, but it's very powerful, Sorry, I didn't mean to take it. I didn't mean to take it to such a dark place.
No, I love this. Let's say someone has been through a tough breakup, and maybe this is their first breakup they've gone through that was tough, a tough relationship, or this is a pattern. This is their third or fifth relationship in 10 years that's been like, what's wrong with me? What would you say would be the next 3 things they should focus on after the breakup on how to find that awareness and open their eyes, on how to start, observing men or women in a different way before they get so committed and go all in and start fantasizing about how amazing they are? What would you say are 3 things they could do before entering another relationship?
Well, first of all, to become acquainted with yourself and to know who you are and know the source of your own desires. So if it's your very first relationship, it's a little hard to see patterns, but you can begin to see patterns of the kind of person that you're attracted to after the 3rd or 4th time, and to analyze that and to be aware of it. Now, if some people will say, well, won't that kind of ruin the whole relationship game that analyze myself that seems so unseductive, etc. And if you're in your 20s and you're healthy and you're young, maybe it doesn't matter so much.
Right.
You're going to have some painful moments, but you're having a lot of fun. Okay, I'm not going to rain on that parade. But eventually, you're not going to be so young. You're going to be in your late 20s. You're going to be in your early 30s. And the series of bad relationships, they're going to start wearing on you. They're going to start creating trauma. And they'll start infecting you with this kind of defensiveness, where every time you meet someone, you're worried that they're going to hurt you, and you can't open yourself up to them, right? So you've got to, as early as possible, understand your own patterns. Why am I attracted to this person? Just simply ask that question, right? It's, what was it about him or her that attracted me to that person? Is there something I'm not thinking about? Could I have foreseen some of the darker side of this person earlier on? Yes, most obviously. Could I have seen the fact that he could be someone who could be kind of cold and abusive? Yes. Oftentimes a man who is like that will love bomb the woman. He'll overwhelm them with emotion so they get confused and they're not aware of it. That also is a sign when a man overwhelms you in the first 2 days with so much attention that he's hiding something dark. But don't look at it as if it's always the other person. See your own temptation, why you give into someone like that, why you are attracted to people like that, right? Go through that process and then say, all right, what are the qualities that I really, really want? What is important for me that I'm not getting from this person? The sex is great, but there are other things that are more important, like validation, like the other person cares about my work and about my career. They're not just interested in me as a physical presence, but they actually show interest in my future, right?
Yes.
What are these things that I need that are very important to me that I didn't get in that last relationship, right? Yes. Who am I, right? That's just the question. Who am I? What are my deepest needs? And what are my dark patterns, right?
Yes.
And then to go through a process of, we talked about this earlier, if I now become all defensive and closed, and if I'm always judging the person, oh, he's not right for me, or she's not, because you're afraid of being hurt again.
That last person has power over you still.
Yeah, they defeated you. They conquered your spirit.
Wow.
So you can't be afraid to have some more of that pain again, right? You have to open yourself up a little bit here.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you're hurt again, at least you can say that that person who hurt me earlier on has no more power over me. You know, I'm still able to fall in love. I'm still able to let myself open myself up to another person.
Yes.
It's incredibly important to be able to feel vulnerable to another person. It's a deep human need. It goes back to our childhood. It's part of our human nature. And if you close yourself off, it's not only going to affect your romantic relationships, it's going to affect you in work and everything.
Yeah, so don't jump into another relationship if you're closed off, is what I'm hearing you say. Like, be willing to heal that part or process it.
And then one last thing,
Yes.
you asked for 3, those were 2,
Yes.
I'll give you a third. The third is learn to judge people by their character,
So true.
all right? So not the superficial charm and smiles and all the great stuff that they're able to fake, but who they are deep inside, right? You know, do they have some of these strong character traits? Can they take criticism? Man, you have no idea that that is such an important quality in a relationship.
Taking criticism?
Yeah. If that other person cannot take any kind of criticism, how can you be in a relationship with them? And they find ways to make you pay for criticizing them. They get passive aggressive, they get cold. Oh, I'm never going to do that again. You can't be in a relationship.
Right.
So judge someone like that. Can they take criticism? Can they deal with moments of stress? Can they get outside of themselves and think about me? You know, think about how they are in a conversation. Do they hear what you're saying? Do they come back with things that reveal the fact that they've been listening to you, that they picked up signals from you? Get inside them, get inside their character, and be able to judge them on that basis as opposed to their sexy veneer that they have. So those would be the 3 things.